driving home from work right now. It's 7:38 on a Sunday morning, and I thought I'd just start doing car vlogs, and I may even have a little segment. I may call it something cute. I'll come up with a name later, just because I rarely have time alone to make videos, and I'm in the car by myself quite a bit, driving back and forth to work, and so I thought this might be the perfect time for me to do this. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about World Breastfeeding Month and World Breastfeeding Week and my perspective and how it's changed on breastfeeding. I haven't really ever gone into this, but I wasn't able to nurse Peter. I didn't nurse my first baby. I had complications from delivery that allowed my production to just cease to exist, and I never produced any milk. And so, despite trying everything, and I was unable to nurse him, and I was really almost bitter towards breastfeeding mothers, and I had a really hard time talking to breastfeeding moms. They just made me feel like crap, honestly. And they would ask me questions like, did you try herbs? Did you try pumping? And I tried everything. And it was so frustrating to constantly feel like I had to defend myself and feel like I had to, go to battle every time I talked to a mom about breastfeeding. And I felt guilty every time I had to make a bottle in public because I felt like people were judging me, and it was awful, and I hated it. And every time I saw something like the big latch on, or I saw, just banners that would talk about World Breastfeeding Week or World Breastfeeding Month, and it would just kind of make me cringe, and it just kind of gave me a sick feeling to my stomach, because I still felt guilty. I felt incredibly guilty for not being able to do that, and it was awful. And then, fast forward 5 years, and here I am during World Breastfeeding Month, and I signed up to go to the big latch on, but I ended up working the night before, and I didn't sleep, and it just wasn't going to work out, and I was going to go to that, and I was like all up in breastfeeding week and all up in breastfeeding month and posting stuff on Facebook, and I realized that I had become that person that I couldn't relate to, and that person that made me feel so bad. And it kind of hit me really hard. And there was an article that was going around, and I'll link it in the comments, but there was an article that was going around that was like, what breastfeeding moms really mean. And it was basically like, I can't even, it's awful. I can't even remember specifics. I just got off a 12-hour shift, and I didn't sleep all day yesterday, so I'm a little fuzzy. But she kind of talked about how when breastfeeding mom talk about, like, I've breastfed for a year, and the formula feeding mom hears like, I'm awesome, I'm the best person ever. And what the breastfeeding mom is really meaning, like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, and I'm so proud of this accomplishment, and I'm so proud of what I've done. And it's so freaking true. It's so freaking true. And I heard those comments like that, like every time, like on Baby Center, every time I saw like platinum boobies, gold boobies, I just kind of wanted to slap them. And and now I have gold boobies, go figure. And I never knew that I'd be in that position. And I find myself saying things like, well, have you taken fenugreek? And, there's mother's milk tea, and I find myself, becoming this person that I couldn't stand 4 years ago, and that I hated talking to, and that, made me feel so bad. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that person. And so I just kind of wanted to come on here and say that I'm sorry if we come across like that. And I guess that I just didn't, now looking back on it, I don't really think it was malicious what those women were saying to me when I was, and it was just something that I was projecting onto myself. And if you do feed your baby formula, you're not a horrible person. You're not. I don't think you're a horrible person. And, you know, I would be happy to talk with you about that. And if anything, I feel like I have a little bit more perspective than moms who have just completely breastfed their babies from, you know, the first baby on. You know, I went through the struggles of, you know, low production, and I went through all of that, and choosing a formula for your baby is one of the hardest things that, I mean, I never even knew how difficult that was going to be, and, you know, how frustrating that process is, and, you know, how much you feed your baby, because formula fed babies eat completely differently than breastfed babies, and it's hard. It's not just making a bottle and giving it to them. It's a lot more of an involved process than people think it is, and but also breastfeeding is too. Like, for me, being a solely formula feeding mom, like, I tried to breastfeed for the first 3 to 4 weeks, unsuccessfully, but I didn't really feel what it was like to be a breastfeeding mother. And then this time around, I'm realizing all the struggles that a breastfeeding mom faces that I didn't even think about, and like how it just weighs on you physically, emotionally, everything, and you're the only one who can feed your baby. Like, that was one of the things that really struck me the most, was that I was the only one that could feed Killian. It was solely my responsibility, and that was a hard realization for me, because I was used to Peter, where, you know, I could make a bottle and give it to James and walk away, and I couldn't do that with Killian. Or, you know, if somebody did feed him, I'd have to pump at the same time so I could, you know, tell my body to make milk. And so it just, I faced a whole new set of struggles, and I just gained a whole new perspective, and I just kind of wanted to say that it's just been interesting. It's been very interesting these last, like, few weeks, watching all the breastfeeding posts, and I am very proud to be a breastfeeding mother. I'm going to continue breastfeeding longer than my first goal was 3 months because of my struggles, and then my second goal was 6 months. My third goal was 9 months, and I've just kind of extended it. And now that we've realized that Killian is allergic to cow's milk and not able to have cow's milk, I'm thinking my next goal is 2 years, unless he weans himself earlier, which is very possible. But that's my next goal, and I never ever in a million years thought I would be saying that, and that I would be in that position, and I would be one of, you know, those moms. And I'm trying not to be one of those moms, because I know how frustrating it is to be. And even if it's your choice to feed your baby formula, it's none of my business to tell you what to do. Yes, I believe that breast milk is better, and yes, I believe that it is, you know, it forms a great bond between mother and child, and I believe in all of the benefits of it. But if you choose to formula feed your baby, you know, that's really none of my business, and I shouldn't judge you for that, and I haven't judged anybody for that. But it's just, whenever I say things like, you know, when Killian was a year and I came on Facebook and I was like, I don't mean to brag, but, you know, I did it, and it was, you know, it was hard and it was difficult. I'm so proud of myself for doing this. And then I realized that might come across to somebody as, you know, I'm a better mother than you because I breastfed for a year. And I didn't mean it like that at all. And I realize that now, and I kind of feel like that, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to talk about that and say that if you're a formula feeding mom and a breastfeeding mom is talking to you like that, then they probably don't mean it maliciously at all. They're just speaking about their experience. And I would be happy to talk to anybody about formula feeding, because I dealt with that with Peter. I was solely a formula feeding mom. I would be happy to talk to anybody about breastfeeding, because I've been an exclusive breastfeeding mom this time around. And so I'm trying to kind of walk that fine line, and it's just weird, because in a way I feel like I've kind of betrayed the woman that I was and become this other thing. But anyway, I just kind of that was just kind of rolling around in my head, especially after I read that article. And once again, I'll link it below. I can't even remember the name of the lady that wrote it, but I'll put her name in there. I'll give her full credit, because it was a really good article, and it really struck a chord with me. It really did, and it made me. I was actually nearly in tears reading it, just because it was so true. And I felt it from both sides, and I completely understood every bit of it, and I completely knew what this woman was talking about. And so I just kind of wanted to come on here and talk about my thoughts on that. And I need to get home to my babies and hug them and snuggle them and get to bed and sleep so I can go back to work in less than 12 hours. It's now 7:49. God, I talked for way too long. And I have to leave for work again at 6 o'clock in the evening. And so that's it, you guys. Thanks for listening. If you watch this, I really appreciate it. And have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.